Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Hello, and welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. Today I have Senator Kuby, state senator from Arizona, and I welcome you to the show. Thank you for being here.
Great to be here.
Tell me a little about your background and, how you got to where you are, and, why you're doing what you're doing, because it seems like no matter who you are or what your beliefs are, we're supercharged right now about things, right? So, how did you get here and why?
Sure. Well, I've been a longtime activist, environmental activist related to climate solutions. And I served on the Tempe City Council for 2 terms, was the vice mayor, and I ran on a platform, a sustainability platform. And people said I was nuts. I should be talking about parks and potholes and streets, and that people didn't care about this issue. But I, lived a mile south of the university, and I saw the enormous opportunity for the city of Tempe to embrace all of the research and passion at the university for change, for sustainability. So I ran for office and served, and then now I find myself as a state senator. But I was 25 years at the university as well. So I had this sort of bifurcation of my life of being an activist, but also an ASU employee, leading the Stardust Center for Affordable Homes and the Family, and directing events for the Global Institute of Sustainability.
Wow.
So I'm still a senior global future scientist at ASU. My training is in social sciences. And so I've been, through my job at the university, exposed to some of the greatest minds in the world related to sustainability, to energy, to resiliency, to save soils, to so much that's going on in the world, whether it's at the grassroots level or policy level.
If we break sustainability down as a word, because it is a general word and everybody uses it now, but it really, to me, it's just doing things in a more efficient way. And it's doing things that will last and doing things that are going to not create more harm, right? So if we just break it down like that, every business wants to be sustainable.
Right.
Every person wants to be personally sustainable. And obviously with our environment, it's critical because, the environment doesn't need our help. What we need to do is keep people from causing problems for it, right? So sustainable solutions really are ones that can fit, and to be practical, they have to be kind of fit within the economic structure, or we have to slightly change that structure, right?
Yeah, and so when I ran for office, though, I saw my city doing really great work in water conservation and recycling and building more solar capacity. But I saw sustainability in a broader sense as ultimately equity, related to equity. And the idea that the decisions we make today are going to constrain the decisions that future generations can make. And that's not a good thing. We need to make decisions that enable future generations to be able to be free and to be able to pursue their goals and their happiness and health.
If we destroy biodiversity in microorganisms or in plants, we are, definitely causing problems for future generations. You never know which organism or which plant was really the potential future that could save us from some kind of a disease or something.
Or kind of like canary in a coal mine.
Exactly, right. So, okay, so now flash forward, you are a senator. Did you ever think of being a senator ever?
No.
And is it...
Not at all.
Does it feel like you can get something done? Does it feel like it's a really difficult process? What's your take on it?
Yes and no. I feel like I can stand up for my constituents and represent the values of my district, Legislative 8, District 8, which is parts of Tempe, parts of Scottsdale, parts of Mesa and Phoenix, and the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. But, I'm in the minority party, and when you're in the minority party, generally your bills do not get heard. And that can be very frustrating. So you can stand up, you can represent, you can kill terrible bills, which we do. But I have a whole list of environmental bills. I'd love to see get a hearing. They may not, they may, and I'm going to fight and work with Republicans who I have good relationships with to see that the bills get heard. But it's both like it's satisfying, but also very frustrating at the same time.
At the state level, it seems like it's there's more cooperation.
I'd say so. Last year we had like a budget that was a bipartisan budget, and we didn't have to shut down the government to do that. But there's still very deep divisions.
Well, yeah, of course, and that's going to be the case. But the idea that you can listen to others and make practical steps forward or at least sideways is not bad. So tell me about what you've got going on right now. I think there's a bill that you just dropped. Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, a whole number of them. One, are you referring to the Green Amendment?
Yes.
So yeah, this is would be a constitutional amendment, so the voters would get a chance to vote on it, and it is to enshrine in the Arizona Constitution a right to clean air, clean water, and a healthy environment. And that may sound like pie in the sky, like why would you have that in the Constitution? But this amendment is passing all over the country in different states, and then young people and lawyers representing young people are able to use this in court to really sort of go after polluters, the whole polluter pays movement. But it's being used in court and being accepted as a legal argument to push back against corporate polluters.
Yeah, so pollution is obviously a problem. It's been a problem since the Industrial Revolution and the use of a variety of different products. Soil is part of that, but there's different issues when it comes to how we, for instance, one of the things that kind of has always bothered me is the waste that we have. It's such an expensive, you talk about an unsustainable system. Right. We take everything, commingle it, and throw it in a landfill, or we incinerate it, and it's there for generations and generations. But I sound like a tree hugger maybe, but the reality is it's definitely more economically correct to actually recycle it or repurpose it, reuse it, right? So
reduce, reuse, recycle.
And it doesn't, and there should be no adversary to this, right? You're not offending any business people or whatever if you recycle aluminum or paper separately. So you want to, and we travel all over the world, and we do this podcast, which is about sustainability. And I was recently in Korea, and despite what a lot of Americans who never travel think, there are solutions in other parts of the world, or at least the attempt of the solution. They have one a program, they call it pay as you throw, right? So if you have a home and you separate your plastics and you separate your glass and you separate your aluminum and your food waste or whatever, your waste bill at home, the bill it takes
it's an incentive.
It can be almost zero cost. If you want to commingle it all, you're going to pay, but now that money can be actually used to either separate it later, or it can be used for a purpose. So it seems to be working, and to me, it's just a matter of getting the public to understand it and to follow it. In my world, in the soil company, we take wood chips but if you end up taking yard waste from homeowners and they throw one plastic bottle in, when it goes through a shredder, is thousands of shards. If you have glass, and I've seen some waste companies selling their product as if it's a compost or a mulch, which it's not, and it goes on the property, and I go back 6 months later after it's decomposed, and I see the entire landscape shimmering with glass. So to me, that's one of the world's ways of doing things. I think, like Elaine Ingham thinks, that if we, in fact, can use the correct biology in the soil, we're not using the pesticides and the fertilizers to the degree we are now, or at all. And what we do is you can now store carbon. You can store tremendous amount of carbon in fungi.
Yeah, and who knew farmers would be the hero of the climate crisis?
Well,
I know you know Peter Bick. I work with Peter.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Work with Roots So Deep, and we've seen that regenerative farming and multi-paddock grazing, it increases microbial content in the soil,
Yep.
more bird diversity. I mean, you could just line up all the different benefits that accrue from that
It's a big part of it. And we were in Mongolia and in Kyrgyzstan, where they're, for years and years, that's what they do. They call it rotational, but in Kyrgyzstan, they have an elevation. So in the summer, they climb up the mountain, and then in the winter, they go back down, so they're not overusing. But we are seeing a change. It was communist, that part of the world, the 5 countries of Central Asia. So they ran things differently at that point. And obviously, and so now, unfortunately, they're embracing our commercialism. The problem is with those freedoms, they've got 5 times the amount of animals. So they're not really using this rotational grazing concept like they could be. So you can see, how fragile the step is, and
use degradation.
And once that's gone, you turn it to dirt, and it takes a long time for you to get that biology back to work. So, but so that is interesting. Peter's involved with. We believe he's got a new film that two films that he's going to promote at the film festival. And I was talking with Dr. Roselle, and you guys have been talking this last week, and now you're going to be a part of it as well, because you have so many contacts with nonprofits and a lot of restaurants and people along this corridor. So it seemed like it's bizarre how we're getting these natural fits that seem to be great.
Right. I believe so much in co-governance, working with all these groups. And then also in my life as an activist and ASU, working with all these groups to come together. These times can be kind of dark, but there's actual movement and change and reforms happening on the ground literally at the grassroots level.
Right.
Can I tell a story, though, about when I was at the city of Tempe? So
Sure.
I wanted to pass a single-use plastic bag ban and a styrofoam ban. And it became this huge, huge controversy. It was about in 2016. And even like New York Magazine wrote a story because the legislature jumped in and they passed a ban on bag bans. And my point was I looked at the waste stream in my own city and saw how much money we were spending with a recycling sorter. We get all plastics and we get all caught up in the sorting machine, and it was dangerous, and thought this is an opportunity to save money and reduce our waste stream. And I was working with businesses, and like you say, it was going to be something that could benefit us all. We were going to create a buying program for compostable takeout containers, and then we could, with a large quantity, we could reduce the price for everyone, for all the businesses, and that was going to be a benefit to local businesses. And we'd see less blight in the city. And in my mind, it was like gateway legislation. You've heard of gateway drugs.
Yeah.
It was like gateway legislation. Let's get people used to not using single-use bags, plastic grocery bags, and using reusable bags. And then once you do that, you say, hey, that wasn't too hard. I mean, I keep forgetting my bag in the car, or like, oh man, I forgot to bring my biodegradable dog waste bags to the park. But then after that, you think, what more could I do? It's like, maybe I could compost. Yeah, I think I can compost. I could do that at home. Or there's this great business called Recycle City. They can pick it up and make it easy for me. But sadly, the legislature stepped in, and it became an ideological fight. Like you're saying, that it shouldn't be ideological, but it became ideological with one party voting yes to ban single-use plastic bans, and another voting no.
As soon as we entrench ourselves, it's game over. Nobody wins, right?
Yeah. But it was sad because it was done with the best of intentions, with bringing all the groups together. Like, how can we work together to reduce waste stream and have a more circular economy? Because we know circular economies benefit everybody, not just the environment, but
it goes to a deeper issue that we can't resolve now. But it's big business versus small business. Big business has the money, the power, the lobbyists, and they're also the ones that are free riders, right? So they're
Yeah.
creating a lot of products and a lot of things they don't pay all the social or environmental cost of.
Yep.
But they're also, despite what a lot of people think or know, they're not the major employers.
Mhm.
And the majority, when
True.
we were in, I think it was in Seoul, Korea, looked at the way the city was structured. Lots of mom and pop shops everywhere. Turns out about 70% of their economy is based on that.
Mhm.
So it's a much more solid. You don't have the ups and downs when you're relying on
Right.
on some big internet company
Mhm.
or whatever might be the fashion of the day or the trend of the day,
Yeah.
because people are more stabilized. So that is, like, I think, the beginning of the root of the issues. And big money has big money lobbyists. They have the ability
Well,
to steer things, right?
and when I was working on this legislation, I traveled to Carpinteria, California, which was
Oh,
the
I
first
love that
small.
place. It's a good surf town.
Yes,
Yeah, I almost bought a house there once.
It was the first town, or I don't know if it's a city or a town, to enact a plastic bag ban, and they did that. And then the American Chemistry Council and a group called Novalex that manufactures bags, they came in with tons of legal challenges, and the city couldn't afford hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend itself. And that was sort of the beginning of that movement in California. And it's never easy to pass legislation that impacts like people's daily lives, and that can be sort of a threat to the way we usually do things. But in that case, the city just could not fight back because the costs were too high.
I do believe that showing people solutions, the environmental podcasts that we have, and also the film festival that's going on, we have right now over 185 submissions from all over the world, students, kids from all over. And this is how things get changed. But if people actually understand the basics of how things work, how soil works, how pollution is causing problems, I think that that's our small group of people, we call them activists, can make the change. And that's if a small group can take it in one direction, another small group can take it back.
And the arts play such an important role because they can reach in the hearts and minds and creativity of people, and they see issues in a different way. I think of the polar bears on the floating ice cap. I think about maps that were showing the degradation of the forests and the loss of density of forests in the United States. That was really what propelled the national parks movement with Teddy Roosevelt.
It's crazy how we
the
can
visual
ignore
arts
science,
can really
right?
stimulate.
It's kind of crazy, but how long can that keep going? I'm optimistic that it will collapse sooner than later. I think even big oil realizes that there's a limited amount, no matter how great is invested in it. So it'll run its course,
Yeah. And we know
just like coal
from-
did, just like people burning trees. At some point, the wheel was invented and used, and that kind of thing. So, but it's great to see the work you're doing. We've got a lot of alignment with what you're doing. Love to see more and have you come back and tell us some of your success stories, and tell our audience how they can get involved, because that's ultimately what we have to do. And looking forward to having you at the film festival with us and celebrating it. I think to me, we look at big events in the state of Arizona. I believe this will be one of the top 10 events this year. But I look at it and say it's one of the few cultural events. This isn't a baseball game or a football game or whatever you might want to call it. This is an event that people can actually get involved with, right in not just Phoenix, but Tempe, Mesa, along the light rail.
I love that, all the different events happening along the light rail.
We have a lot of different activations. So I think it's to me, it's a cultural event. It's an art event. We do actually have artists that are involved doing stuff, and it's an event that I think allows for civic pride. We can all look and say, well, what did Phoenix do for you? It helped you with your career. It's helped us raise families, have our business. So this is kind of a paying forward.
Sure, and there's joy that comes from that.
Sure. And we've seen so much happening in Arizona, right? So many positive things.
Years ago, there was an event we called, I don't know if you remember it, called Feast on the Street on Roosevelt, right off Roosevelt Street in Roosevelt Row. And we had a half-mile long dining table. And we had artists that designed beautiful centerpieces. We had, all food that was grown in Arizona. It was, my job was waste. So I thought, how do we activate the waste, the waste sort of activists in the Valley? So I reached out to the zombie community. There is a zombie community that do these walks and dress up like zombies and patrol. And so I reached out to the zombie communities, like, we'd love to do that. So we had, I made signs they wore around their neck, and they would go up to people who were in the dining table and take their waste. And they had a sign that said, help us to decompose. And so they would gather all the waste.
And we're a zero waste event here.
Yeah, that's great.
Green Light Solutions in Denali. So
yeah, but there's a funny thing that happened. So, the zombies are the perfect messengers, right? With the signs that said, help us.
Because that's ultimately what we all are when we're ignorant and
That's
doing.
right. But what actually happened, though, is they got a little bored with collecting waste and they just kind of wandered off on their own, as zombies do. I should have known that zombies would not take the job seriously. But no, it was a great event. It was full of joy. We had a public salad toss, with a big sort of helicopter material. And, we had children, we had lots of kids events, and we have a lot of dark times, and there's things that we can celebrate. And it all basically revolves around community.
Well, we definitely are open as we do the next several years of this and to grow it. I love the idea of incorporating music, food for sure would be great. So any of these things done in the past that we can resurrect in these next few years, it's a building movement, but it's really a community. And, I watched Michael Crow's speech a couple of weeks back where he was doing his annual talk, and he's an inspiring guy. He's really done amazing things. But we talk about the innovation of ASU and how it's now one of the tops, maybe the top school in the world, in a lot of measurements. But innovation and technology, how it's been embraced, and how much we see in the state of Arizona. Well, the idea of innovation doesn't mean it's all corporate greed either. It's positive things. It's jobs. It's changing the world and taking into account sustainability. And I think that this fits in very well with what he's talking about doing, because it brings civic pride, and it tells the world that this is where we are. This is who we are in Arizona. And I think over these last 10 or 20 years, Arizona's really reshaped. I see in the future as absolutely being, could be, a leading state for other people to see.
I mean, cities are incubators of innovation. We see it time and time again. I think Phoenix is doing incredible work in the trash to cash area and circular economy work. The city of Tempe started as like a one-person operation. Braden Kay, the first director of sustainability, and he was the first graduate of the School of Sustainability. Now he's over in Governor Newsom's office focused on extreme heat. Now there's an office, I think, of at least 8 people. I was really proud to see that office grow. And those are the sort of agencies that really get into the heart of the community and work with neighbors and can really lead positive outcomes.
Joe and I just went to Sundance and saw how the vibe was so electric.
It's ending, though, isn't it?
Well, it's moving to Colorado, which I think is a shame because I loved it in Utah. But when you're there, it just takes over, and you just have this amazing electric vibe, and that's what we're hoping for. And we want it to go statewide, so it's not all in one particular place. This is something that's a statewide setup. So,
and Mountain Film. Have you been to Mountain Film in Telluride?
I've been to Cannes. I've been to San Sebastian,
but Mountain Film it's a lot of extreme sports films too. So you see all the skiing films, but most of the films these days are environmental films, and it takes place Memorial Day weekend, and lots of community participation and ways to participate for free, and free showings on the park. So it's not just limited to people who can pay for that film.
It's not just about the movies. There's a lot of great movie people there, but it's also about the community. So, well, I appreciate you coming here today.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to these next 2 months. Will be very exciting, and following your bills and hoping they pass and doing whatever we can do to help that. So Senator Kuby.
QB, yeah.
QB.
Like quarterback. I'm a QB
Well,
for
QB,
clean energy.
oh, that's a great way to say it.
Quarterback.
Yeah. So appreciate you being here today.
Thank
and we're
you.
definitely going to stay in touch with you and look forward to these next couple of months. For those of you watching today, please like us and follow us and have a great day, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.